Hey everybody, welcome back to My Wings of Refuge. I'm excited today, y'all. It has been an amazing week. So much has gotten done at the pregnancy center, and today we're gonna make something super easy, super fast, considering it's canning, but it's also incredibly delicious. And you never would have guessed that you can can coleslaw, right? But we're gonna can coleslaw today and you're gonna love it. So the first thing we want to do is take two beautiful big heads of cabbage. You can use green or the purple cabbage. Cut them into a few chunks, put them into your food processor, and you can shred them, you can dice them, however you like your coleslaw. So I'm going to put them in there and I'm going to do some chopping in the food processor. So we have our beautiful cabbage all shredded up to your favorite consistency. Then we want to add our salt to this and just let this sit while we get all the other ingredients together. I love it when my husband has input, and so I have been making this coleslaw with, I believe it was sweet onions, and he suggested the next batch to do red onion. So I am going to use some red onion this time. So the same thing, I'm going to peel off the outer edges, a few chunks, put them in the processor, and put it to your consistency, however the size you like. Next, you want carrots. These are really big, so I'm going to use 3. I like a lot of carrot in mine, so it's up to you how many carrots you really like in yours. Since I'm using 2 large heads of cabbage, I'm going to go with these 3 very large carrots. I have scrubbed these clean. I have cut the tops and the bottoms off, and now I'm going to skin them and then chunk them and put them in our food processor, again to your consistency. Now, a lot of people like to use red bell pepper or a green bell pepper in their coleslaw. I'm a little gutsy and I like to use poblano peppers. Gives it just a hint more flavor and kick. This is my favorite. You do you. Any pepper will work. So I'm doing 2 poblano peppers. Okay, so that wasn't hard, right? That was the hardest part of this recipe. So we have all of our goodies here, and our cabbage has been setting with the salt. What that does is it draws the liquid out of it. Now it's time to get our jars ready. We're going to get those boiling on the stove, and then we'll be ready to get our brine together. I got our jars here, and I've set them on high, and as soon as they start bubbling, then I'll set my timer for about 15 minutes, and that's when I will work on the brine and drain our cabbage. So for the brine, we want 5½ cups of white vinegar and 4 cups of white sugar, 1½ cups of water. Next, we want 2 tablespoons of celery seed. Optional, of course, but it's delicious. And 2 tablespoons of mustard seed. Again, it's optional. So we're going to turn our brine on high, and we're going to get this all simmering really well. You only need to simmer or boil it for about a minute or 2. You just really want it nice and hot, and make sure that your sugar is melted. So our brine is about ready, and I want to take the time now to make sure any liquid that was drawn out of this, we want to make sure we drain it. So once your cabbage is all drained, make sure you add all your other vegetables in and stir very well. I'm going to start with half of my jars. We're going to start by filling them with our mixture of vegetables. We want to leave 3/4 inch of headspace with the vegetables. You can pack that in pretty good though. Now it's time for a brine, and we want to do a 1/2 inch headspace. You definitely want to debubble because you want to make sure that you have plenty of brine because it will settle a little. Make sure you clean those rims really good. Time to add the flats. And rings finger tight. Time to lower our jars. Make sure your water comes up over the top of your jars by at least 1 inch. Wait till it comes to a hard boil before you set your timer. So as soon as you hear those bubbles bubbling, we're gonna set our timer for 20 minutes. That's our timer. Gonna shut off the timer and I'm gonna turn off the heat. Just turn it off. I'm gonna let this sit for about 5 minutes and just calm down. Then we'll remove the lid and lift our jars and maybe wait another 5 minutes before we take them out. Just gonna remove the lid. Still very hot, and if it's steamy, you can turn on your vent. That helps a ton keeping steam out of your house. And I'm gonna wait another 5 minutes. Time to raise these jars. We're just gonna let these sit here for a few minutes, then we'll get them out. Thank you so much for watching today's video, y'all. Hope you enjoyed it. This is a fun recipe. It is really easy to do, and you will be so glad when you're ready for that coleslaw and you go, oh, I just don't have time to let it do all that soaking, because usually it takes a few days for those flavors to meld. But this is fabulous. Now, I know you're wondering about the crispness of your vegetables. I think they're perfect. When I make coleslaw, I usually set it in that brine and let it sit for about 3 days, maybe even 4 days before we eat it. And it does soften just a tad when I let it sit that long. And really, this has about the same texture. I don't think it's soft or soggy at all. But if you're worried about it or you want to make sure it's super, super, super crisp, then I would add a little bit of the pickle crisp or something like that to it, possibly even a grape leaf. Some people add that to like pickles and things to keep them really crispy. I never use any of that stuff. I love this canning recipe, and it is so nice to go to your shelf like the 4th of July. I was able to smoke one of our pork roasts and turn it into a barbecue and pulled it off. It was fabulous. I pulled off the shelf my homemade canned Boston baked beans. Remember that video? And I was able to pull off my shelf my coleslaw, and it was so easy. My dinner was just like ready, and it was still so incredibly fresh and delicious, like I had been cooking for hours in the kitchen. And really, when you're smoking meat, it's out there for hours, but you're not having to tend to it all those hours. And those other canned goods were just pop the jars and they were ready. How fun, how easy. I love it. I love coleslaw. Now, if you're a creamier coleslaw lover, this obviously is a sweet dill, not dill, but sweet and vinegary. If you're more of a creamy mayonnaise type, when you open this jar, you can either drain the liquid and add a spoon of mayonnaise to it and cream it up a little bit. Fabulous. Fabulous. So, but I opened the jar and I could almost eat it by the spoonful right out of the jar. I hope you enjoyed it, y'all. Stay safe out there. I hope you have an amazing week. And don't forget, always put your faith and trust in the Lord because He cares for you. I love you. Take care. See you next time.